So Ron DeSantis, putting Ron, as many call him, Rob DeSanctimonious, many people are calling him that, he has been avoiding interviews with many outlets that he thinks are hostile. It was honestly part of his strategy from the very beginning. I'm going to go on media outlets that like to play patty cakes with me and coddle my ballsack. But since he's been slipping and slipping and slipping some more in the polls, he's now in a position where he can't really get away with that. So he's had to branch out a little bit. Now, look, if I was advising him from early on, I would have said, hey, man, your most viral moments are when you're like sparring with a reporter when there's a press conference in Florida. Why don't you spar with CNN anchors? Why don't you spar with MSNBC people? Why don't you say, I'll go into the lion's den and I'll fight him? That would have been a better move from the very beginning, but he didn't do that, probably because he's conflict averse and probably because he's being overly cautious. He honestly probably thought he was a favorite after the midterms, and so he was playing it safe, but you weren't safe. Trump is an absolute wrecking ball, and he's chipped away at your numbers time and time and time again. So Ron DeSantis finally decided, after dodging Megyn Kelly for a very long time, he finally agreed to sit down with her. Now, by the way, if you were scared of Megyn Kelly, what does that say about you? Because Megyn Kelly is right-leaning. Megyn Kelly is a conservative. There's no doubt about it. And she probably is very sympathetic to your ideas, Ron DeSantis. But she also tries every now and then to be a tough interviewer. But you were so afraid of even a friendly debate, somebody who's an ideological companion just pressing you a little bit, you ran and hid for a very long time. Well, anyway, so DeSantis sits down with Megyn Kelly, and most of the interview, they are playing patty cakes. But there's a couple of parts where Megyn decides, I'm going to push back a little bit. And on this one right here, goddamn, she absolutely unmasks him. So what they're going to talk about is the whole, they talk about the Disney thing, but they're also talking about Bud Light. Remember how Bud Light did an ad with a trans person, Dylan Mulvaney. They put her face on a beer can, and there was backlash, and the right melted down over it, and they became little snowflakes and, right-wing social justice warriors. Well, Megyn is going to catch him in an amazing contradiction, and he struggles to deal with it. Let's watch.
You, in my view, are pretty quick to use the power of the state against certain corporations, so you don't like these woke corporations. Disney, after it attacked your Parental Rights and Education Act. Anheuser-Busch, recently for hurting the pension investments you said of Floridians with the whole Bud Light debacle. Much as the base is angry at these woke corporations, and I get it, I know you get it, aren't you doing the very thing to these companies that conservatives are mad at left-wing leaders for doing, using government to punish citizens for political wrongthink?
No, not at all. So taking Anheuser-Busch, we're not punishing them. They departed from business practices by indulging in social activism. That has caused a huge problem for their company, and their stock price has gone down. Well, our pension fund in Florida holds Anheuser-Busch InBev stock. So it's actually hurt teachers, it's hurt cops, it hurts firefighters.
Understand what Ron DeSantis is saying here. Understand what he's saying. He's trying to defend the fact that he is suing Bud Light over an ad they did with a trans person. Suing them over a virtue signal-y ad. Suing them.
And their stock price has gone down. Well, our pension fund in Florida holds Anheuser-Busch InBev stock. So it's actually hurt teachers, it's hurt cops, it hurts firefighters who depend on that pension fund. And so
Didn't you support the boycott against them?
No, I did, but that's just as a personal thing. But we didn't have like the state government, necessarily, putting power about it. But as an American, I said I'm not doing Anheuser, I'm not doing Bud Light.
Oh my God! All right, do you understand what just happened? So Ron DeSantis is suing Bud Light because they did an ad with a trans person, and he's saying, "Oh, you're hurting the shareholders. How dare you hurt the shareholders? I'm coming in to save the shareholders from your wokeness." But Ron DeSantis also is on video calling for a boycott of Bud Light. By his own admission, he's trying to hurt the shareholders. He's trying to hurt the company. And then later on, he sues and says, "Oh, you're hurting the company." No. That makes no sense, homie. None at all. And by the way, this is going to get laughed out of a courtroom. Not a single judge will take this seriously. Agree or disagree with the company. They have every right to be as woke or non-woke as they want in their advertising campaign. At the end of the day, it's a calculation. They're trying to determine how can we make the most money. And in this instance, Bud Light thought if we virtue signal to trans people, we'll end up making more money. Now, it turns out they were maybe wrong about that because there was this massive boycott and backlash from conservatives, but they were trying to do what was best for their shareholders the entire time. That's all they care about. All they care about is the bottom line. All of it. And so here's Ron DeSantis, advocates for the boycott, and then is suing Bud Light for hurting their shareholders when Ron DeSantis 7.5 minutes ago was like, we need to hurt the shareholders. Oh my God. So Megyn Kelly's point here is very simple. It's like, hey man, she's more of like a Reagan conservative. The Reagan conservative position is just get the government out of people's lives. Just get it out, get it out, get it out. And Ron DeSantis is saying, no, I want to get government into people's lives, but I want to do it in a way that socially enforces traditional conservative values. Like, I guess you want to ban corporations from ever doing ads trying to get gay customers, trying to get trans customers, trying to say, hey, we agree with these minority communities. We're going to defend these minority communities. That is big government, just big government enforcing an anti-woke ideology. Megyn Kelly's position is just get the government out of the situation. Some corporations will be woke, some will be anti-woke, and just let it be. Let them do whatever the hell they want to do because that's freedom. He says, no, I don't want freedom. I want to enforce traditional conservative values by law.
So it's actually hurt teachers, it's hurt cops, it hurts firefighters who depend on that pension fund. And so
didn't you support the boycott against them?
No, I did, but that's just as a personal thing. But I mean, we didn't have like the state government, necessarily, putting power about it. But as an American, I said I'm not doing I'm not doing Bud Light. But for this, we're defending the people that are beneficiaries of the pension. When you go, look, the wokeness, yes, it's annoying. Yes, when they're trying to throw an agenda down your throat, you don't like it.
He literally hasn't thought about this for 2 seconds. That what he's doing is massively contradictory. He hasn't thought about it because he doesn't care, because he's virtue signaling. He's mad at Bud Light for virtue signaling that they're okay with minority communities, but he's virtue signaling that he's not okay with minority communities. And by the way, the anti-gay, anti-trans ad that was run by the Ron DeSantis stans, that was made in-house. And then Ron DeSantis went out there and defended those ads. We see right through you, dog.
They departed from their fiduciary duty, and so we're investigating.
How can you say they departed? I'm not in favor of the Bud Light thing at all, but how can you say they departed from their fiduciary duty? They sent a beer can to this very controversial person, which upset the consumers, and the consumers had their say. But how is that a departure from their, and how does the state get involved in that?
How is that something that is helping their shareholders or helping their company's value?
But how is that?
She's about to say this. That's not for you to decide. And by the way, there's been 1,000 ads where 1,000 corporations are pro-gay, and most of them, nobody cares, doesn't make a difference one way or the other. The corporation's doing it because they think it'll make them more money. Whether it does or doesn't is immaterial. That's their intention, is to make more money. That's their intention. So you might not like the Bud Light ad, but it was clear what they were trying to do. Say, hey, we also want gay people to buy our stuff. We want trans people to buy our stuff. We want whoever, fill in the blank with whatever minority community, whatever ethnic background, whatever religion, etc. We want all of you to buy our product. That's the point. Again, you might not like it. You might not agree with it. It doesn't matter. Using the force of the state to try to shoehorn people into a particular ideology is the exact thing that you say you don't like. But you do like it because you want to do it for your ideology.
I have people in Florida that were injured by the company's decline as a result of that.
Injured! You can't say they were injured, but then you also advocated for a boycott, which would injure them. Oh, God, oh my God, he's collapsing. This is minimal pushback. He's collapsing.
People that rely on the pension. Disney is a different issue than this, but we have to say companies should do their job. If they depart from that and they harm people, then you have an opportunity to potentially have recourse.
This goes on. This is one of very few areas where she pushes back, but his story here makes no sense. It doesn't add up. It's actually really pathetic. It's really sad. And basically, look, the bottom line is this. The so-called anti-social justice warriors, they have embraced the same tactics as the social justice warriors. The left, the authoritarian left, used to get beat up on because their go-to was, I'm gonna get this person fired for saying something I don't like. I'm gonna get this conservative commentator kicked off of this campus and they can't give a speech. We're gonna shout down this comedian and not allow them to do their stand-up set. This was the idea of, the right would talk about blue-haired college kids with septum rings who have zero tolerance for any ideas they disagree with, and we're against them because they're authoritarian. And the right is doing the exact same thing now in terms of tactics. They're saying, we're going to sue Bud Light we're going to sue them because they did an ad we don't agree with. So we're going to use the power of the state to try to enforce our own viewpoint, as ironically we pretend that's the one main thing we're against. Stop using the power of the state. Stop using authoritarianism to embrace one viewpoint. You have literally become that. You are that. You are that. So he's never going to square this circle. It's kind of embarrassing. And even somebody who's sympathetic to him like Megyn Kelly sees right through it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.